My bet would be that you're going to see a bigger gain in the price of silver. I expect both metals to rise. I expect all metals to rise. Prices are going to trend higher. There's going to be periods of time where they go down. But I do think that there's going to be a crash. Prices are going to get very cheap. I didn't expect a lot of inflation.
Welcome back. Are you looking to become a successful businessman while making smart investments in today's market? You're in the right place. In this video, Schiff dives deep into the secrets of business success and reveals whether silver or gold holds more upside for your portfolio. If you've been wondering how to navigate the financial world like a pro, this video is packed with insights you can't afford to miss. Let's get started.
I think there's no real secret to that. I think it's the same with any business, any entrepreneur that's going to start a business. First of all, it's kind of important to try to figure out what you're good at and try to figure out what you do well. And hopefully, they're the same thing, right? If you enjoy what you do and you do it well, because if you want to start a business, you're going to work really hard and you're going to spend a lot of time. When I first started, there was no weekend. I worked 7 days a week. I probably worked 16 hours a day. I ate at my desk. I was at my office all the time. And that's what it takes to be successful. And I recommend, tell people, if you really want to succeed in life, start a business. You're not going to make a lot of money as an employee, with a few exceptions. If you could be a professional quarterback in the NFL, you can get a great salary. But most people can't do that. And the way most people I know who have succeeded and who have amassed a lot of wealth is they've started a business and they've worked for themselves and they've hired other people. And so, you just got to work hard. You got to persevere. You got to be willing to sacrifice. You can't just run out when your friends, if you're young and your friends are just taking vacations and buying fancy cars. You can't do that stuff. If you want to have money to start a business, you could go years without making money. You might lose some money in the short run. You got to have some savings to help pay the bills. So you got to sacrifice in the short run. You got to, live beneath your means and make it a long-term commitment. But if you do all those things and you're successful, the dividends will be there. Yeah, if you go historically and you look at the relationship between gold and silver, because that relationship has been around for hundreds of years, and if you measure the price, how many ounces of silver can you buy with 1 ounce of gold? Silver's pretty cheap right now, and so if it simply reverts to the mean, you're going to have a bigger gain in silver than you would in gold. Now, there's no guarantee. Maybe things have changed now. Maybe silver is permanently cheap relative to gold. I tend to think that that's not the case and that silver is going to have its day. And so my bet would be that you're going to see a bigger gain in the price of silver relative to the price of gold. I expect both metals to rise. I expect all metals to rise because I expect the dollar to fall. But I expect the euro to fall. I expect the pound to fall. I expect the yen to fall. And, and I expect Bitcoin to fall eventually. Well, real estate prices are very high and affordability is historically low. So I would expect home prices to come down. Certainly in terms of gold, they're coming way down. But, one of the things that's keeping home prices up is the fact that so many people refinanced their homes during the decade or more of 0% rates. So a lot of people are holding on to 3-4% mortgages, and they are holding on for dear life. They don't want to let go of those mortgages. So they're going to stay in their homes. They'll rent them out. They'll take on boarders or whatever to keep that low payment. But, the cost of home ownership is going way up. If you own a home, if you have insurance, you've seen rates double. Your utilities are going up. Your property taxes are going up. So the cost of being in a home, and, sometimes people get divorced, people die, people lose their jobs. There are things that happen that may force people to sell their homes. So eventually, I think the supply of homes is going to pick up, and that should put pressure on the prices. And I think mortgage rates are headed even higher than they are now, because I think long-term rates are going to keep rising. That's going to be very difficult to stop. So what was going on between 2002 and 2008 was very unique, related to how mortgages were being financed at that time with the subprime mortgages, the interest only, the zero down, teaser rates. I mean, that was a disaster in the making. So, I don't see the same type of stuff going on. I mean, you still have people buying homes that they really can't afford because the government subsidizes it. The government, FHA, buys the mortgages, or Fannie and Freddie. And so there's government guarantees. And so people are able to buy homes with low down payments and stretch it out over 30 years. So prices are artificially high. But I think that measuring houses in terms of dollars, home prices are going to trend higher. There's going to be periods of time where they go down. But I do think that in terms of gold, there's going to be a crash. I mean, I think that housing prices are going to get very cheap if you're buying a house with gold. Because the prices are just much too high. They've got to come down, and they would come down in terms of dollars if I didn't expect a lot of inflation. If we could go back to the monetary system we had before the Fed, I'd be all in favor of that. Because that's when we're on a gold standard. The federal government wasn't involved. There was no central bank, and paper currency was created by private banks, and it was all backed by gold, right? So everything was good, and the government wasn't involved. But in fact, even if we went back to the original Federal Reserve Act, the way it was originally conceived and passed, that would be a big improvement, because the original Federal Reserve Act made it illegal for the Federal Reserve to own any U.S. treasuries or any obligations of the U.S. government. And all the Federal Reserve notes had to be backed 40% by commercial paper and by gold. And so it was actually an honest central bank. It wasn't part of the federal government. It was a private banking syndicate that was chartered to issue this currency backed by real money, gold. And it was supposed to be better than having all these other banks, because what the Federal Reserve did is they rediscounted the notes of other banks. If Trump actually succeeds in, let's say, slashing government, actually making a meaningful cut in government spending, I don't expect that to happen, but let's just say that it did happen. And maybe he even got rid of the income tax and replaced it with some kind of excise taxes or sales tax, tariffs or sales tax, something like that. And there was major deregulation of the U.S. economy. I think that would be bad for gold. I hope that happens, but it will be bad for gold. It would be good for the dollar. I just don't see that as a realistic possibility, given where we are, given the amount of debt that we have, and given the campaign that Donald Trump won, which was one of instant, gratification, an immediate boom. I know that in order to do the things that need to be done, we have to suffer through a pretty severe recession, early in the process. And, that's not what, Trump prepared the electorate for. I don't think he has a mandate for that. And I don't think that's going to happen. But, in theory, it could. I don't think the tariffs that they're going to put on are going to reduce our trade deficits any more than the tariffs in his first administration, which are still here, by the way. I mean, Biden didn't repeal a lot of those tariffs, and we have the record trade deficits right now. So, the trade deficits are 50% larger today than they were when Trump first took office in 2016, despite those tariffs. So that has to do with the erosion of our own manufacturing base, which continues today, and we grow more and more dependent on the manufacturing infrastructure of the rest of the world. And so I don't think the tariffs are going to achieve their stated goal. My guess would be the tax cuts are going to get approved. They're going to increase the deficits. I don't think we're going to have meaningful spending reductions. And even if we have some, they'll be, minor compared to the automatic increases that we're going to get in Social Security and interest on the debt and Medicare and all that. And so I think we're going to have bigger deficits, more inflation, and that's going to be positive for gold.
Don't miss out on this chance to learn from one of the sharpest minds in finance. If this video gives you value, be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss insights like these. Your journey to financial success starts here. Let's make it happen.